So we have the honor today of presenting for Ghiora Aharoni. So I'm going to give some brief remarks on his accomplishments for those who might not know all of them. So Ghiora Aharoni is a world-renowned Israeli-born artist and designer of Yemenite descent. He founded his multidisciplinary studio for art and design in New York in 2004. Through his work, he challenges social norms and explores dualities, such as the intersection of religion, science, and relationships between disparate cultures. His pieces are held in remarkable collections around the world, including the Pompidou, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the Vatican. His work and installations are exhibited internationally around the world. He is a graduate of the Yale School of Architecture, which he attended on a full scholarship and as an ISEF International Fellow. Dear Ghiora, your work combined themes of Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity while exploring the complex, hidden dualities and similarities of religion and science and various cultures around the world. Throughout histories, Jews were driven, sometimes by choice, too often by force, to transcend borders and barriers, and were pioneers in our interconnected cosmopolitan world. Your work exemplifies this tradition, demonstrating the power of imagination and determination to transcend nations, cultures, and religions. Mr. Aharoni, your artwork is an act of peace and building bridges, and we salute you for that.
And I say amen. I discussed with her in advance that she does the reading and I'll say amen.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this incredibly generous introduction. It's a pleasure to receive this award and to be here with you tonight to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Sephardic Film Festival. My gratitude to ASF President David Dangur, Vice President Raquel Benatar, Executive Director Jason Guberman, and filmmaker and festival artistic director Naama Kea. Looking at my fellow Pomegranate Awards recipients, Ellen, which you'll see very soon, a celebrated thought-provoking writer, Yasmin, a mesmerizing singer, and the gifted writer-director, Shlomi. Our collective family roots stretch from Algeria and Turkey to Morocco and Yemen, and language, written, sung, spoken, and manifested as visual art, is a shared thread that connects us in the expansive tapestry of Jewish culture, and I'm honored to be in their company. My own relationship with language began very early. I grew up in Rehovot, Israel, in a multi-generational Yemenite household, where both Hebrew and Arabic were spoken. And in the Yemenite tradition, I learned to read at a very young age, upside down. Standing in front of the Mori, my teacher, following the words which were inverted on the page. And so began my fascination not only with Genesis, that you'll see later on, but also with the facets and fluidity of language, its structure, its potential to shapeshift, and the energy it contains. In my work, I think of text and time, but today I'll focus on text as a medium. And rather than looking at languages as something that separates us or delineates cultures, I see language as a lens to explore the ways in which humankind is connected and converges. Given the mission of both the American Sephardi Federation and the Film Festival to explore connective threads of culture, I would like to share with you some work tonight that asks us to question or reconsider traditional notions we might have, invites us to turn those notions upside down, like the text of my childhood, and gives us an alternative way of looking at the world we think we know. The Genesis series, which you see on the screen behind me, is inspired by the story of creation and the fundamental questions we all ask ourselves as individuals or as cultures? Who are we? What is our beginning? The Genesis series is a group of assemblage sculptures which uses the Genesis text in Hebrew as a prism for viewing humankind creation narrative as something that is multifaceted and collective, instead of residing within singular cultural hegemony. These sculptures juxtapose symbols, icons, and text from multiple belief systems, including Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, as well as the magnificent Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation narrative that was written before Genesis, an element of which are found in the Genesis creation narrative. These symbolic universes evokes continuum creation narratives from scientific, mystical, and cultural belief systems that are engaged in a dialogue, where it is evident that these seemingly diverse narratives of beginnings coalesce, intersect, and overlap. For me, the sculptures are a meditation on the interconnectivity of humanity's origin that blurs our notions of both linear time and, most importantly, linear thoughts, and expresses humanity's fluid, symbiotic, and interconnected nature. I can go to the next one. Perfect, thank you. One of the first, so I think of language as an atlas or a barometer of a culture, as something that is embedded and imbued within its speakers, morals and mores. It is a conduit to look critically at one's own culture and one's own country. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a multi-generational Yemenite household where both Hebrew and Arabic were spoken, which was not exactly the norm in Israel, where these two languages are often seen as a signifier of opposition. Knowing that both the word home in Hebrew and Arabic are almost identical, bayit and bait, and wanting to invert that perception of opposition, I created Hebrabic, a phrase-based melding of Hebrew and Arabic that is legible to speakers of either language, and is a metaphorical framework for exploring our intertwined linguistic, geographic, and cultural relationships. One of the first phrases that I created in Hebrabic was, "Thank God for making me a woman," as a rumination on how women are considered in these two cultures. While our household was more secular, I remember discovering as a boy that one of the prayers that Orthodox men recite every day is, "Thank God for not making me a woman." It seemed to me then, and it still does now, as something that generates negative energy about women. And yes, we can argue about this later. So as a counterbalance to that, and in the tradition that was initiated by the 15th century Franco-Italian Jewish scholar, Avraham Freisel, the word not was omitted from the prayer to make it, "Thank God for making me a woman," transforming it into a transcultural veneration of women. And wanted to expand on this rumination on women to other cultures, I created Hindru, a melding of Hindi and Urdu, as I respond to intercultural and social issues in India. It's been gratifying and inspiring to see people's reaction to the phrase, "Thank God for making me a woman," ranging from gratitude to anger to confusion. For me, every one of those responses has value because there is a moment of awareness that happens that can continue to ricochet and resonate. And like Ellen's writings, Yasmin's songs, and Shlomi's films, it's beyond my control how and where those moments do happen as the work goes out into the world. Though these ruminations on conflicts as well as connections ultimately invoke the interwoven fabric of humanity and the universal threads that unite cultures. Thank you.